Hey, everybody. That was weird. Sorry. um, this is Blaine Burgess. I'm bringing back episode 2 of Hard Things. This is episode 2 of 7 of this initial season or series, whatever you want to call this first bit. I actually got the idea for a series like this from Tim Ferriss. He kind of said, like, do a series of, 10 to 12 podcasts, record them, learn what you can, and kind of go from there. Like, if it's something that you want to do, something that people enjoyed, it's something you like doing, keep it rolling. So that's kind of my sample size is going to be this first 7 episodes. Once again, Hard Things is a podcast about life. Life is hard. I'm kind of talking about just different things I've learned in my life in the past, 33 years of it. And I am glad to be back for this episode. I just got back from Sacramento, California. A college roommate of mine, Sir Matthew McCarthy, got married, and it was wonderful. I'm glad that I was able to make it out there, given everything I'm up to, and glad to be back though. Got back at 2 a.m. last night, East Coast time, from the West Coast, so pretty rough. I've been recovering today. It's kind of late here, but I want to get this recorded, get it up, just to kind of stay on schedule and accountable to myself. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. What else before we get started? Really, I think that's it. We're just going to hop into it. So, what am I up to in life? I have been bopping around jobs in the fitness industry for quite some time. Pretty much, the last episode I described my weightlifting career and kind of like 2017, how I had made the jump into weightlifting from CrossFit and how it changed my life. And pretty much at that time, I had been working at Rogue Fitness, which is a Columbus company, one of the main equipment companies for CrossFit, and so it was great. It's obviously interest aligned, all that, and I kind of got sick of the culture there. Sometimes some of the best, well-oiled businesses obviously aren't as people conscious, and the ratio of machine to human at that company was a little bit off for me. So I took some time off. I actually started a small Shopify store with my friend Danny Walter, and basically got my real world MBA in live fashion, and also got my CrossFit level 1 from Rogue Fitness from working there, which was great, and I got into coaching. So from that moment on, I've been either coaching or working for a fitness company, such as Whoop was a stop for me, Laco, main Rogue Fitness competitor in Austin, Texas, and then most recently with Thorne, the nutrition and supplement company. So I've obviously been following my passion, but those are all kind of adjacent to my true calling, at least what I think. When I was a kid, I really admired the chiropractor I went to. My dad would take me to a chiropractor, and I just thought his job was cool. In high school, I dated a girl who had a lake house next to his, so I kind of saw him around and was like, hey, he's got money, his job's cool, noted. I kind of put that in the back of the mind, and went off to do what I did and didn't really give it another thought. And then I was at Thorne, and a lot of my clients there that I was selling supplements to were chiropractors who were then selling them to their patients. And I just noticed I was incredibly jealous of just their day-to-day life, talking to them about their problems. And I'm like, man, these are problems I wish I had. And not that any of these other jobs were, not good. They definitely had their upside and their downside. But it ultimately, I think I am a health practitioner at heart. It's something I wanted to do early on in college and kind of got washed out. because of the difficulty of the biology and chemistry programs at Harvard. Um, so yeah, I went into a political science background there and left that all behind. But I've been flirting with fitness and health for a long time, and I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to get married to the game, for lack of a better term. I want to make it official. So in January 8th, I started chiropractic school. Late last year, I went back. I took some prerequisites that I was missing in the science world, and yeah, I'm in trimester 1 of chiropractic school, and that has been a a major challenge, but also a welcome one. Um, there's some courses I'm doing really well in, and some that I struggle in, and it's been cool to kind of push myself again academically, especially without the rigors of college football on top of it. Just being a student, and kind of pursuing other things. I'm still lifting weights, but it is a lot less of a time commitment than college football. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Other things I'm up to. So I mentioned creating New Year's resolution to create things. I think I've had like a book in me for a while, maybe even a series of books, depending on how long the content is. And some of what I want to talk about today are kind of the beginning thoughts behind what I would say. I always feel like I've had something to say, either through a podcast or a book, whatever media. And I think I want to just diversify my message across different platforms and get it out there for the likes of you who's listening to this now. So yeah, we will kind of get into that a little bit. I'm doing some other creative things like musically, and just kind of trying everything, things that I've really put off for a long time and just never pursued. Just doing it. I'm just all out, figuring what I like, what I don't like, and eventually I'm sure, along with Olympic weightlifting, I'll land on maybe one or two other things that'll stick. Hopefully a career in chiropractic, and maybe something like guitar or writing. So yeah, throughout that process, I think a lot about the books I read, about all the content I consume on social media, and again, like I'm someone that has 10,000 screenshots on my phone, so going through that's a little bit of a chore, but I do it every so often just to try to unpack some of that. The more it sits in your phone, the more it just kind of weighs on you, or you just delete it and forget about it, and then what's the point in that? At some point I thought this was important, so I should judge myself and take a look at those. So but the process of going through that, I've been kind of putting together a loose idea of what my philosophy is, what I want it to be professionally in the future. Like, who am I when it comes to being an entrepreneur? I mean, ultimately I want to have my own practice, and even if I wasn't doing this, I think I would just have to be an author or a podcaster, or try to branch out in that way. And having a W-2 job, I think, is not a long-term strategy for me. So I've been kind of building these pillars in my mind, what my values are, and what's important to me, how I want to operate in the world, how I want to interact with other people. And then I randomly had an assignment for a chiropractic school, and it was like mission and values. And I think they do this kind of early on because they know a lot of us will eventually own our own practices, and they wanted to get us thinking about these things. And luckily for me, I already had a framework. I was already building the scaffolding when this assignment came across, and I honestly got pretty excited about it. And what they did was they gave us basically a document full of words, and all the words, I mean, it was all kinds of motivational things. It was, money. It was different values, pretty much kitchen sink of anything motivational or, whatever you can think of. And I started to look down this list and just take some out that I didn't think were, at my core, and then, kind of highlight some that were. And we were supposed to choose 5, and I surprisingly whittled the list down to 5 pretty easily. Usually with something like that, I would struggle and I would question myself. And I think because I had that scaffolding, I more easily was able to pare that down. So that was kind of exciting in that moment too. The assignment was, sometimes with assignments I kind of struggle. I struggle to get inspiration, and for this one the inspiration came relatively easy. And then after the assignment I added 2 more because it was just supposed to be up to 5, and I wasn't going to do extra work for the actual assignment, but this was just more for my own enjoyment and also, the future. So yeah, these podcasts, the first one was kind of 7 quotes about 7 years of weightlifting. This one's going to be 6 values, like my 6 pillars. And then they all kind of add up to the final, 7th pillar. But because it's the second episode, we're going to say 6, I'm going to define the word wisdom through 6 other terms. And wisdom, the regular definition is just having the quality of experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise, kind of being a sage, soundness of action or decision with regard to application of experience. That's something I think we all should, strive for. Wisdom kind of for me is at the top of my pyramid. And when I think about what that looks like I said, that big list of items, some of the more financially driven things, or other, worthy goals. Like, I want to be financially successful, don't get me wrong, but I don't think wanting to be financially successful and putting that in your mission statement is the way to be financially successful and also have a fulfilled, soul, if for lack of a better term. So I kind of, reduced out all the things that kind of gave me the ick, if you will kind of bear with me. So I got it down to these 6. So I'll start number 1. I think the top of my pyramid is wisdom. The base of my pyramid is definitely self-respect. And in some ways, it could also be said as like self-esteem. But the idea is pride and confidence, and like a feeling that one's behaving with honor and dignity, being aligned with your values and not compromising on them for, short-term pleasure is kind of the idea. And if there's one observation I make, any friends or, people I see that are unhappy, I think a lot of times I can see them compromising in some area, and it's not my place to really call them out on it unless they ask for that feedback. But, I do see it, and I kind of feel their angst in a way. And by seeing that, I also realize in the ways that I feel that way, the ways that I disrespect myself. And I am the king of self-disrespect in some ways, wherever I may fall short. If you fail at something, it's pretty easy to be hard on yourself. But you have to have respect for yourself. Like, hey, you tried, let's figure it out. Let's learn, let's move on, or just do something else. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I'm like learning to play the guitar, and it may never ever work out. I might just leave the guitar, behind and never look back. But that's okay. I'm not going to think twice about it. So yeah, self-respect is that first piece. And I really think it's the bottom of the pyramid. If you're not like operating with self-respect, I don't even think any of the rest of what I'm about to say matters. You can be as wise as you want, but if you don't respect yourself, that wisdom's not going to be communicated to the outside world appropriately in a manner that exudes confidence. So the next part, second term I put is clarity. The quality of being coherent and intelligible. And even there's a secondary definition about transparency and purity, and I think that's kind of part of it too. It's a little bit different. They're kind of two separate definitions, but I kind of like lumping them into one. And I think your ideas in your mind, a lot of times, there's so much volume of information. You have 10,000 screenshots. You read 10 books last month, whatever it may be. It's all clogging up your mind. And you have to be able to rapidly pare down this material, make connections between, adjacent topics and, content, and then basically reformulate that, transmute that into something useful either for yourself or to share with people. Like a podcast or a book like this is like the ultimate form of that. I'm just taking everything I've ever consumed and just repackaging it. It's not anything new. It's just thought of in a different way, maybe that's never been done before. And that type of creativity, I think, is what people need, because if what I say resonates with 100 people, they might take what I said, go find some other content, and then help 100 more people understand. And I think we're kind of lacking clarity right now, especially in America, in a time where we're heading towards an election. We could use a little clarity, in my opinion. But we're probably not going to get it for this go round. It's a little too late for that. We're already in the year, but something to strive for the future, a good value to keep in mind. To go hand in hand with that, genuinely, I always try to think simple. The old phrase, keep it simple, stupid. Although we are very smart, a lot of times we can overestimate our intelligence. And the more you keep it simple and you're able to just create an operating system in your life that has clear steps and you can just bang, 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 execute, that's where I think a lot of people that I see that are successful really shine. They just keep it simple and they keep it moving. They found their bread and butter and they just keep repeating it, until someone tells them otherwise, till a new law comes into effect or whatever it may be. That's really like, if you look at companies like Facebook, Google, like especially tech companies, they just kind of iterate until they have to change, until they're forced to. So the definition is the quality of being easy to understand or to do. And I think because it's easy to understand, we sometimes maybe devalue something that's simple, because it's like, it's simple. There's no way it works. I'm complicated and I need some special solution. I kind of see and feel and hear that a lot. And the more that I simplify my life, remove things, and really, it's the Pareto principle, 80-20. I focus on the 20% that gets me 80% of the results. Duh. Why not? Let's do it. That's a very, very simple thing that you can implement tomorrow and get better results tomorrow. But also I say this like it's easy. It's really not that simple. It's very actually hard to execute. But you're not going to execute it if you don't have this in mind, in my opinion. So the next term, getting a little further up the pyramid, I think self-respect is the base. Clarity and simplicity are kind of the next level. The last level before you kind of attain wisdom, so to speak, I think reliability is something that comes to my mind. So it's the quality of being trustworthy or of performing consistently well. I can't think of anything that people enjoy more when they feel that you are trustworthy or that you're consistent. When it comes to like athletics, I know my best coaches were just every day they were the same person. They were pushing us the same exact way. It was like I could count on them to be motivating, to not be, doing something outside of what I expect. And like if they set the tone and they set it well that first day, and then they do that for 100 days straight, we had a lot of success on teams where I had coaches like that. And I think that goes for like romantic relationships as well, friendships, family. If someone's trustworthy and you can, they got your back and they do it consistently, those are the relationships that you really come to cherish. And the folks that really cause problems are the ones that maybe are having issues themselves and struggle with reliability. So I think it's important to, once again, respect yourself, get your problems taken care of, keep it clear and simple. And then when you get to that next level, be reliable, do it every day, repeat it. Again, like part of simplicity, you make it simple so you can repeat it reliably. Then kind of going hand in hand off of that, the next two terms will kind of round out this level. On the topic of reliability, or kind of adjacent to reliability, I have cooperation. So the process of working together to the same end. So again, like being trustworthy, doing it consistently, and not only that, but also like working, finding people who have similar goals and working towards the same end. I find that the jobs that I've loved, I've had coworkers that we're just fully aligned, the boss is fully aligned, and we're all just churning along and conquering. And that has happened, once or twice in my career where I was just really happy. And to be honest, it's kind of fleeting. That same position, we kind of got shuffled around, got a new boss, some people moved on up the chain, and things changed pretty quickly. It was no longer this cooperative environment. It was definitely more of a dictation, and how you used to do it is wrong. And to be honest, we had the data to back it up that it wasn't wrong. But I guess maybe financially or otherwise, it wasn't meeting the standards of, those at the helm. So, you kind of adjust and, you do what they ask. But at the end of the day, the magic that was had. And I still, I think about that job and the friends I made from that job. I still, I go to their weddings and I see them, at least once a year. So, again, cooperation is a beautiful thing, something great to strive for. The last part of it, I think one of the hardest things to do, especially in our technologically driven society, is focus. The last kind of pillar of this is, being reliable, cooperating, and then focusing. Like, don't lose sight of the goal. Don't lose sight of the kind of the magic that you've gathered through all these other steps. I guess the definition I like, there's two that I like. One is the state or quality of producing clear visual definition. So like eyes on the prize. Another way to say it is pay particular attention to. I think in life there's things that are easy to focus on. Like right now, I'm pretty tired from the flight yesterday. Had a good workout today. Had overall good day, but also I was busy. Never really stopped, and now it's almost midnight and I am completely fine. Like, I am focused on this because I want to get this message out, better in than out, for sure. If I keep this in, and these values, and I don't share them with anyone, that also kind of comes back to self-respect. So, focus, and just, it almost kind of goes hand in hand with reliability and being consistent. Like, all these things, the parallels that run through these terms are, undeniable. And I think mastering each level is imperative. And again, starting with self-respect, moving on to clarity and simplicity, and then, to execute, being reliable, cooperating, and really focusing, don't lose sight of that end goal. And all 6 of those, if you can do those, on a regular basis, if that's kind of the core of how you operate, I do think that is a large part of what wisdom is. And it's wisdom is just gathering information through the lens of that system. And this is ultimately, like I said, it's been my experience in my, adult working life the last 10-ish years. And it's taught me a lot. It's taught me that, like I said, I'm not a W-2 employee. It's taught me, who I tend to gravitate towards, who I like to work with, more open-minded people. There's a lot of different things I could say. But ultimately, like I said, boiled it down to these definitions. And I was, when I turned that assignment in, I was really happy with, the way I had kind of quickly, like a little bit too easy, I'm like, what's the catch? What am I missing? And oftentimes I think in the past, I would do an exercise like this and feel like I was missing something, just total FOMO. And for whatever reason, I finished it and I was like, this is complete. I did end up adding, like, I think focus and wisdom were two that I left out. And I added focus on and then kind of said, like, these 6 things are all included in wisdom. But it just felt complete. And that's why I think more than ever, I have the, like, self-respect and confidence to put it out here on the airwaves. Because these ideas have been in my brain a long time, but, I'm not someone that likes to do something half-baked. This still probably is a little bit half-baked, but it's the best that I've produced from my brain so far in life. I look forward to putting it out there and using this, these values, these pillars to continue to refine a podcast process or book writing process, whatever my creative energies are going toward. Looking for feedback and seeing what people like and don't like, and just seeing if it resonates. I think it will, because these are human observations from human people, myself and others around me. And I hope that you can reflect on these terms, get a lot out of it. One thing about this podcast, I think I want it to be, ad-free. Something about podcasts I don't like is when someone doesn't ad read like they're, on the TV. I think podcasts are magical because it's not TV. It's long form, half hour or more audio that you can just listen to while you're doing cardio, you're in the car, whatever it may be. And I'm sick of ads. Like, everything's commercialized. And like I said, I want to be financially successful. But if you listen to this and you want to support me, there are places you can find me. Like, I'm on social media, Blaine, I think _infinite. And then my website that is hopefully launching this week. I got all the financial details squared away so I can actually get paid if anyone buys my products. Kind of a pain in the ass, if you ask me, but these are the perils of entrepreneurship. Infinite-strength.com. infinitestrength.com was taken, so there's a little dash between the words. Don't forget it or you won't get there. But there's going to be basically a place for you to buy, coaching sessions with me in the future. I think my book will be on there. I'm going to have, I think my previous company, Thorn, I'm going to be selling their multivitamins. I think I've taken them for long enough and I trust them to the point where I would recommend them, especially the core products, things like the multivitamin, they call it Basic 2-A-Day, and the creatine. I think those two alone, if you want to improve muscle mass and your brain health and just be buttoned up from a micronutrient standpoint, which can be pretty tough with our food supply. It seems like the food has less and less nutrients in it every so often. I just kind of notice the quality of food, the mouthfeel of it, the vibrance. It's not as like I remember it when I was a kid. I remember fruit used to be like maybe a little bit more colorful and taste a little bit better even. And so I found that the multivitamin, I actually don't even take 2, I just take 1, and that's plenty for me. And I'm 250 pound man. So if you're smaller than me, 1 pill a day, it's going to last you, I think, 60 days. And so, yeah, relatively inexpensive and a great way to just get going. So again, this isn't an ad. This is just me saying, like, hey, I take this multivitamin. If there's one thing, like I said, keep it simple. That and creatine, like, get on it. You don't even have to buy it from me. Just get something. Like, go anywhere. Go to the store. Go to Amazon. Amazon's easy. I think Thorne's on Amazon too. But like I said, if you want to support me, it'll be on my website as well. There are resources for you everywhere. Like I said, you don't need to get it from me, but again, if you enjoyed this, you want to support, that's where I'll be. And again, that's going to be the only ad you ever hear is actually my company. So, yeah, hold me to that. If I ever put a different ad on here, you can yell at me. You have my permission. Trying to think if there's anything else for now. I don't think so. But I will tease the next episode. So last time I think I didn't tease the core values. I just said I was going to talk about what I'm up to. The next episode, okay, so I was on the trip and I was just doing what I do on the internet. Kind of unhinged a lot of times. And the third episode, it's going to be something about for the number 5, because we've done 7 and 6. Now we're going to do 5. And 5 made me think of, like, you're the average of the 5 people you're around most. And then also there's a book called 5 People You Meet in Heaven. So I think maybe I'm going to take those 2 topics and kind of combine them. Talk about some people in my life who've made an impact. Positive things that I think have lifted me up, especially recently, got me to the point where I want to create things and I want to put it out there. And I think that book too, I read it back in high school, I think, but it definitely had an impact on me as well. So with that in mind, that's going to be the next episode. I have a week to record that and post it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope we'll see you again next week. And for the following episodes, I think we got some good content coming. And I do have, on the 6th podcast, I'm going to have a guest. I think I'm filming that one actually on Thursday. And it's a guest. He's just a friend of mine. It's not anyone famous, but someone that's famous to me. And I'm excited to pick his brain. He's someone that's probably going to be back on several times over the course of this show, should I choose to continue after this first season. So, yeah, with that said, I've kind of been trying to figure out how I want to sign this off. And in a John Mayer song, there's a lyric. And he says, "Time leaves no fruit on the tree." So what that means to me is get out there and get moving. Use these values. Take something from this episode. Change one thing you do tomorrow and, go get that fruit. I don't know. I don't like that at all. I actually really hate that I just said that. But yeah, I like time leaves no fruit on the tree. So think about that. We'll see you next time.